ただいまより2023年
We will now
JapanPrize
begin the press conference to announce the winners of Japan Prize 2023.
本日の進行を務めます国際科学技術財団専務理事の
My name is Yasuhiro Mashiko, a managing director of the Japan Prize Foundation. I would like to be the moderator today. Thank you very much for joining us online. Please note that this press conference will be streamed live on YouTube. Now I'd like to begin the press conference.
本日ご挨拶をいただきます
First, I would like to introduce the speakers who will address the audience today. First, President of the organizer, the Japan Prize Foundation, Hiroshi Komiyama, and also from Teikyo University, specially appointed professor and Professor Emeritus of the University of Tokyo, Dr. Makoto Asashima, the chairman of the jury. First, on behalf of the Japan Prize Foundation, I would like to ask Hiroshi Komiyama, the president, to say a few words.
Hello, I am Hiroshi Komiyama, the president of the Japan Prize Foundation. I'd like to thank the members of the media for giving us support for the Japan Prize. Thank you very much. In early 1980s, the Japanese government had an idea to create an international award for science and technology in Japan. This was realized with donations from many people. In 1985, the first Japan Prize started, and this year marks the 39th. Among awards for science and technology in the world, Japan Prize has two characteristics. One is the selection standard. The most important selection criteria for Japan Prize is the contribution to the peace and prosperity of humankind. First, selection subcommittee, which consists of the experts of the field, select the final candidates based on the academic excellence from nominated candidates from the world. Then, the selection committee, which consists of the experts, wider area of the experts, including the experts of the particular area, will decide on the laureates based on the contribution to the peace and prosperity of the humankind. These days, the human beings are faced with various grave challenges. Those challenges need to be solved through science and technology. The philosophy behind the founding of the Japan Prize is becoming more and more important. The second is the eligible fields. At the Japan Prize, all the area of the science and technology are divided into two areas. First is physics, chemistry, informatics, engineering, and the second is the life science, agriculture, medicine, and pharmacology. Each area is divided into three fields, so in total we have six. Every year we choose laureates in two areas or two fields. So we will cover six fields in 3 years, covering all the science and technology. This enables us to focus on the social implementation and foundation achievements that are not covered in other awards, and also focus on the cross-disciplinary achievements which cannot be covered by the more vertically integrated awards such as physics, chemistry, or physiologies only. So this year, eligible fields are for electronics, informatics, telecommunication, and life sciences. The total number of the laureates so far is 104. Their works have enriched our lives, and looking back, we can feel the importance of the roles played by science and technology. We would continue to believe in the significance of Japan Prize and try to make it widely known in the world as Science and Technology Award for the highest level, which contribute greatly to the peace and prosperity of the humankind. Members of the media, I'd like to ask you to continue to support Japan Prize. Last but not least, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank many members of selection committee and two subcommittees. Thank you very much for your efforts. Next, I'd like to invite Makoto Asashima, the chairman of the selection committee, who were involved in selection, to announce the laureates of 2023 Japan Prize. Dr. Komiyama, thank you very much. Now I'd like to hand the microphone to Mr. Asashima, the selection committee chairman for Japan Prize 2023.
Thank you for the introduction. I am Asashima. Makoto Asashima. I served as the chairman of the 2023 Japan Prize Selection Committee. In November, 2 years ago, the foundation decided on and announced the two fields of award, namely Electronics Information and Communication and Life Sciences, and asked approximately 15,500 distinguished scientists and engineers from Japan and abroad who are registered nominators of the foundation to nominate candidates for the awards. As a result, we received 123 nominations in the field of electronics, information, and communication, and 204 nominations in the field of life sciences, for a total of 327 nominations. These nominations were rigorously reviewed for academic originality and excellence by the two review panels established for each field, and at the same time, the distinctive feature of Japan Prize, that is, how the discovery or invention contributes to society, was also discussed and examined extensively. In the process, we also received objective opinions from 100 experts in the field from Japan and abroad. The selection committee conducted a final screening of the candidates, and the foundation's board of directors made the final decision. We are pleased to announce the winners of the 2023 Japan Prize, which were selected based on the above selection process. In the field of electronics, information, and communication, the prize was jointly awarded to Professor Masataka Nakazawa, Distinguished Professor and a specially appointed professor at the Tohoku University, and Mr. Kazuo Hagimoto, Principal Researcher of the National Institute of Information and Communications Technology. Awarded achievement is distinguished contributions to global long-distance high-capacity optical fiber network through the development of semiconductor laser-pumped optical amplifier. In the field of life science, Professor Gero Misenbeck, Wainfleet Professor of Physiology, Center for Neural Circuits and Behavior, University of Oxford, and Professor Carl Diceroth, Departments of Bioengineering and Psychiatry, and Harvard Hughes Medical Institute, Stanford University. Awarded achievement is the development of methods that use genetically addressable light-sensitive membrane proteins to unravel neural circuit function. We have decided to honor the above 4 individuals with the award. We would like to extend our sincere congratulations to all of them whose achievements are worthy of the Japan Prize, which honors their contributions to the advancement of science and technology and to the peace and prosperity of humankind.
Now I will introduce the winners. First, I would like to introduce the winners in the field of electronics, information, and communication, Dr. Masataka Nakazawa and Mr. Kazuo Hagimoto. We're now connected to the world on a daily basis through email, SNS, and online conferences, and we use cloud services to hold large amount of data. Behind this diversification and increase in the volume of information resources available on the internet is the availability of low-cost, optimal optical communication systems that can send large amounts of information at high speeds and over great distances. In the 1980s, Dr. Nakazawa and Mr. Hagimoto realized a compact and highly efficient broadband optical amplifier by combining erbium-doped fiber and indium gallium arsenide phosphorus semiconductor laser, which was considered difficult to put into practical use, despite being indispensable for the realization of long-distance optical communication systems at the time. Only 5 years later, transponders equipped with this optical amplifier were adapted for use in long-distance trunk line transmission networks connecting the world, including trans-Pacific and transatlantic submarine optical cables. This technology was a quantum leap forward in the practical application of optical communication systems at the time, and the development of optical communication systems based on this technology has continued to the present day. The optical amplifiers developed by the two paved the way for long-haul, large-capacity optical data communications, a key technology that supports the global Internet society.
Next, I'd like to briefly describe the achievements of Dr. Gero Misenbeck and Dr. Carl Lyceros, who received awards in the field of life sciences. All of our everyday behaviors, such as actions, thoughts, memories, and decision making, are generated by the activity of the neurons that make up the brain. Which neurons and what kind of activity patterns ultimately produce these behaviors? Understanding the causality is a major topic in neuroscience. Traditionally, the role of specific brain regions has been investigated by activating or suppressing them with electrical stimulation or drug administration and observing how the behavior changes. However, it has been difficult to precisely control only the activity of targeted neurons with these methods. A new method has emerged to freely control the activity of targeted neurons by irradiating them with light. Because it can be used in living animals, the relationship between neural activities and the resulting behavior can be studied directly. Dr. Misenbeck developed and successfully demonstrated the concept and principles of this technology. Dr. Daiseros has developed it simpler and more precise that can be used in a wide range of research applications. This technology using optical stimulation has now become an indispensable tool in neuroscience research, bringing remarkable development in the field. It is also expected to have medical applications, such as restoring vision to blind people and developing treatment for Parkinson's disease. That's all from me. Once again, I'd like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to all the award winners. Thank you.
浅島先生、ありがとうございました。それでは、受賞者の皆様からご挨拶をいただきます。
Thank you very much.
中澤博士、お願いいたし
I'd
ま
like
す。
to now invite the laureates, starting with Dr. Nakazawa.
はい、皆さんこんにちは。
Hello, everyone.
この度は萩本さんと一緒
I
に
am very
日
happy
本国際賞
to win
ジャパンプライズを
this
受賞する
Japan
ことがで
Prize
きまして
together with
大変
Mr.
嬉しく思ってい
Hagimoto.
ます。
I'd like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the selection committee members, as well as those people who recommended us. Thank you very much indeed. Now, we developed erbium-doped fiber amplifier pumped by semiconductor laser. This is commonly known as EDFA. This is a totally new optical repeater that amplifies the weakened light as is. With the conventional repeater, the weakened light signal needed to be converted, the electrical signal needed to be converted to the optical signal, and the light source in the repeater is modulated, and then the new light signal is sent out. With this conventional method, the performance was limited with the electronic devices, but EDFA overcame this difficulty or shortcomings, and now we have a compact, highly reliable, and low power repeater, which continues to have the performance of more than 1,000 times. And we managed to realize this. And it is not an exaggeration to say that this enabled the global ICT network. Now, this research and development is what I did when I was 35 or 6 years old. Right now, I am 70 years old. So it's been 35 years, long time ago. But this EDFA is now used for not only for the optical telecommunication, but also for the fiber laser, high precision optical measurement, high speed signal processing, as well as non-linear optical effect. I am very happy that this technology that developed 35 years ago is now applied in many different areas. I thank this opportunity to be able to have this research and also express my gratitude to my family who support me and the young researchers who work with me, as well as people in the private sector, and also the students who are working hard on a daily basis with us. Thank you very much indeed. With that, I'd like to end my short speech. Thank you.
中澤博士、ありがとうございました。解散されたままマイクを
Thank you very much, Dr. Nakazawa.
続きまして、萩本先
Please
生、
stay
お願いい
online.
たします。
Next is Mr. Hagimoto, please.
ご紹介ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. It is my greatest pleasure to receive this very prestigious Japan Prize together with my senior alumnus, Dr. Masataka Nakazawa.
特に日本国際賞が
I am especially grateful that the Japan
具体
Prize
的に展開
has
する
shed light not only on basic fundamental research results, but also on the concrete development of engineering.
あるいは
As
それ以
with
上に
researches, or even more so, it is the continuous cycle of development, implementation, operation, and again, researches
イノベーション
that evolves into
イノベーション
innovation.
に進化していくものであります。国内外の多くの先
And I
輩
believe that it can only be soundly advanced
協力
with cooperation advice and positive criticism of many predecessors and colleagues in Japan and abroad.
私は1980年 NTT に入社しましたが
I joined NTT in 1980, and in my interview to join the company, I mentioned that teleportation was my life's work. However, it was nothing but a dream then. In 1989,
光通信の未
while
来に
discussing the future of optical communications with Dr. Nakazawa, I was working on the limits of optical communication performance using fiber amplifiers. And I remember spending sleepless nights shaking with the thought that the world and the times will change and that we would break all the barriers. Today, we live in an age where we can share space and collaborate and communicate on a global scale with people in remote locations as if we were talking next door. And I am happy just to realize that the results of my research and development are actually supporting the world. However, it was far beyond my imagination to receive such a prestigious award. I have been supported by many colleagues across organizations in academic society activities, standardization activities, and the research and development of systems, devices, and measuring instruments. I'd like to share this joy with all of them as I recall our hardships and joys. Thank you very much.
萩本先生、ありがとうございました。
Thank you very
回線を
much.
つないだままマイクをミュートにしてお待ちください。
Please stay online.
続きまして、ミゼンボック博士
Next, Professor Misenbeck, please.
Hello, thank you for the kind introduction and for hosting this press conference. Receiving the Japan Prize is a great honor and a delight, and I am deeply grateful to you. The common thread running through this year's prizes is optical communication. In Carl Deiseroth's and my case, it is not only about a new mode of communication or a new device. It is also about the message itself. The dream to probe the function of the brain by changing its electrical activity is centuries old, but earlier interventions were rarely delicate, precise, and information-rich enough to approximate the natural signals flowing through the nervous system. Now, for the first time, we speak a language that is understood by the brain. The great power of optogenetics stems from the fact that external control is woven organically into the fabric of the nervous system, with the help of light-sensitive membrane proteins that act as genetically encoded transducers of optical commands. My portion of the work being honored established the principle of optogenetic control. It was begun by a small group of people at Sloan Kettering Institute and Yale University nearly 25 years ago. Biochemistry had long cast a spell on me with how audaciously it broke life into parts and understood it by way of reassembly. So when I set my own nascent laboratory on its course, I decided to examine whether neuroscientists could isolate the electrical activity patterns that embody our experience in the same manner as biochemists purify enzymes, by fractionating activity according to its power to evoke perception, action, emotion, or thought. Optogenetics resulted from our effort to turn this idea into a reality. The development of new technologies is risky because there's only one acceptable answer, namely that it works. Boris Semmelman, the postdoc who first used a biological light sensor to dictate artificial messages to a nerve cell, and Susanna Lima, the graduate student who first controlled the actions of an animal in this novel way, certainly had the necessary fortitude. And so did my young family, my wife Barry and my daughter Elizabeth, who didn't see as much of me then as they should have, and had to put up with the occasional period of doubt or despair when they did, especially at the very beginning, when optogenetics met with as much resistance as acclaim. Today, though, is a day of pure joy, for which I thank you once more.
Misenbeck 博士、ありがとうござい
Professor
ます。
Misenbeck, thank you very much.
回線をつないだままマイクをミュー
Please
ト
be
にしてお待ちくだ
connected
さい。
and mute yourself.
ダイセロス博士のご挨拶
Next, the presentation is going to be given by Dr. Daiseroth, and immediately after that, we are going to have a photo session. So all the laureates, please keep connected. We are going to have Q&A session later on as well. Now, Dr. Daiseroth, please.
Thank you. I'm tremendously honored to receive this prize along with Gero Misenbeck, my co-laureate. The story of optogenetics reveals how fundamental scientific curiosity about the natural world, down to the level of exploring single-celled microbes and the proteins they make, can unexpectedly illuminate the most complex and deeply human mysteries of our own minds. Through optogenetics, molecules, for example, from bacteria and algae, can tell us how our survival drives, perceptions, and actions stem from the activity of individual cells and cell types, and how these can go wrong in neuropsychiatric disease. Optogenetics begins by transporting foreign cargo, a special kind of gene, as far as imaginable in biology. For example, from the cells of one major kingdom of life all the way to the cells of another. We do this because, just as was required for the modern ascendance of other fields of biology, like development and immunology and cancer, precise causality had to be enabled for neuroscience that would allow deep understanding. Before optogenetics, we had no way of causing precise electrical activity to happen in specific cells within brains. We had been largely limited to observation, listening with electrodes to cells as they fired away during behavior. We could not provide or take away those firing events within specific cells to see how cellular activity patterns might matter. In optogenetics, we can use genes like the microbial opsins that upon delivery to a neuron immediately direct the creation of remarkable proteins that can turn light into electrical current. Normally, these proteins are used by their original microbial hosts to convert sunlight into electrical information or electrical energy. With our optogenetic approach, using genetic tricks to produce these exotic microbial proteins only in specific subsets of neurons in the brain, but not others, the modified neurons are the only cells in the brain able to directly respond to a pulse of light delivered by a scientist. Because electricity is a fundamental currency of information in the nervous system, when we send in laser light delivered through thin fiber optics, or with holographic displays that project spots of light into the brain, and thereby change the electrical signals flowing through these modified cells, remarkably specific effects on animal behavior result. Discovered in this way are the targeted cells' capabilities for giving rise to mysteries of brain function, like thirst and hunger, or parenting, or perception and memory. Optogenetics allows us to link the local activity of individual cells to the global perspective of the brain. Only cells within intact brains can give rise to the complex functions and dysfunctions underlying behavior, just as individual words only matter for communication within the context of their sentence. I am tremendously honored to share this with Gero, my co-laureate. I'm so grateful to my wife, Michelle Mange, and my family, including my children. And I'm so grateful to the JapanPrize Selection Committee and to all the lab members, students, and postdoctoral fellows who have worked with me over the many years, and to all our collaborators and colleagues around the world. Optogenetics shows us how the toughest problems in biology can be cracked with ideas and tools derived from the parts of our world that are the most small and most rare and most weak. Thank you very much.
Thank
you very much, Dr. Daiseros. Please remain on the line and kindly mute your microphone. We will begin the photo taking session, followed by a questions and answer session.
I believe
we are ready. So now we are going to have a photo shooting session. I believe you see the faces of these 4 laureates. You might be able to use the screen capture function, or you can just simply take a photo of this PC screen.
よろしいでしょうか。
Are you
それでは続きまして、
already? You've done that already. So now we would like to have a question and answer session. The laureates, please unmute yourself. Turn on your microphone.
時間が許す限り皆様からの質問を読み上げさせていただき
So as much as possible, we would like to go through the questions.
萩本博士についてですが、
So first, to Dr. Nakazawa and Mr. Hagimoto,
お聞かせください。
how did you feel when you found out that you won this prize? Dr. Nakazawa, would you like to start?
ですね、最初、
Yes.
このお話聞いたときに、
When I heard
本当
about
に
this,
信じられませんでした。
I could not believe it.
毎年受賞されている方を
Every
見ます
year,
とですね、
when you look at the laureates every year, they're very well known
ジャイアン
and they're really the giants of the fields.
我々の研究もいつかそういうことになればいい
And
か
our
なとは思うんですけ
research,
れ
of
ど
course,
も
there was a hope that we will win this eventually, but winning this actually this year was totally unexpected. So in that sense, I was very, very happy. Thank you.
それでは続けて、萩
So
本
I'd
先
like
生
to move on and ask the same question to Mr. Hagimoto. Yes, me too, as Dr. Nakazawa said,
連絡をいただいたときに、
when I was contacted about this news, I was very
嬉
surprised.
しいというよりも、率直に
Well, rather than
本
saying
当に何か
happy,
と驚きま
frankly
した。
speaking, it was a big surprise.
私
I couldn't
バイオ
believe
セン
it.
サーに関係やっております。
Now, I'm working in the optical fiber, and Dr. Seimatsu won this prize, and I knew about that. So, and I participated in his lecture. So, in that sense,
のような業績
like
に近づけ
him,
たのかという点は、
probably our achievement have gotten close to what he achieved. So that was a surprise
信じられないという気持ち
and quite unbelievable. I think that sense was stronger. Even, well, now I'm starting to feel happy now.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much.
ミーゼンベック博士とダイセロス博士に関
Next
して質問
question goes to Dr. Misenbeck and Dr. Daiseros. For each one of you, in the course of your research, if there are any major points or episode that you can share with us, which made a major impact onto you, your research, to make this achievement possible. Misenbeck, Doctor, please.
I think in my case, it was really the idea of trying to use biological light sensor, encode them genetically, and in this way resolve the activity of individual neurons and probe their causal role in behavior. And that idea, although I think it had been incubating subconsciously, struck me one day completely unexpectedly when I did something different. I was actually walking home from a boat ride in New York, and as I was walking up the street, suddenly there was the idea.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much. Dr. Daiseros, please. Same question, please.
Yes, thank you. For me, I've had the fortune to be able to study these beautiful natural proteins in great detail, obtaining high resolution structures of the channel rhodopsins, these light activated proteins that we get from microbes. And they're beautiful natural machines, and understanding them, changing them, enhancing them, and understanding them as a biologist and a biochemist loves to do has been one of the greatest thrills of my life. But also, as a psychiatrist, also someone who treats patients with mental illness, for me, the most exciting moments in terms of application have come from moving closer and closer to understanding how brain states operate, how adaptive and healthy brain states or maladaptive, dysfunctional brain states arise from the activity of individual types of cells. For me, in thinking about the hope and promise of neuroscience, those have been some of the most exciting moments. So the individual proteins, and then the hope for understanding our own function and dysfunction.
あ 大卒先生、ありがとうございました。
Dr. Daiseros, thank you very much.
So next question is to Dr. Nakazawa and Mr. Hagimoto. For both of you, what was the trigger for you to have started this research? Probably Dr. Nakazawa first.
ありがとうございます。
Yes, thank you for the question.
EDFA の研究始まりましたのは
EDFA research started
全然違うところから始まりまして、
from something very different from this theme.
日本電子電力
In
公
those
司に
days,
入社した時にですね、
when I
大
joined
容量
NTT in those
大容量
days,
といっても400
large capacity
です
that's
ので、今の
400 meg BPS, well, compared to the current ones, it's very small,
作ると
but I was involved in development of the system. However, when the fiber is cut off, how would you find where the fiber was cut off? There's a very important equipment to find it. OTDR, optical time domain reflectometry, is there. So when you see the pulses to follow, and there's a cutoff, a Rayleigh scattering part, and that is the cutoff part, so you can repair. So we would like to find the failure area, even if it's very far. So you need the lowest loss of the optical resources. And as I researched on that, 1.5 micron wavelength would be the ideal source. However, in those days, the power of 1.5 micron was very, very small in terms of the power, and it was not used for OTDR.
私はその、図書館で調べたりする中で、
So I went to the library to research, and I came up with this erbium.
原子番号が68の気取り原子
68 is the element number, and that has 1.5 micron light that can be emitted from erbium. So for the first time, I came up with this erbium, the rare earth element.
技術開発に携わり始めたと思います。
And I started to be involved in the research and development of erbium.
ヘルビウムのレーザー
And for the first time,
それをレー
I
ザー
asked the company how to make this rod using
で
erbium, and I used it for our OTDR. And that was a trigger for us to make this erbium laser
教育になるんではない
to make a fiber for amplifying effect.
1982、3年の頃だったと思うんです。私
This idea came up around 1982 or 3. After 2-3 years of joining the company, I remember I started to research the theme, and that was the starting point for me. Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Hagimoto,
はい、
what was your trigger?
私はちょうど1980
Yes, for
年
me,
代は先ほど
during 1980s,
400メガビットの光伝送システムを
400 megabit
4倍の
transmission
1.6
system
に
and
拡張して、
1.6 gigabit system. That's 4 times as much.
ておりました。で、
I was researching on making it larger to 1.6. Semiconductor lasers
変調も
are very efficient,
電流を電流
and there is direct modulation
作れるわけですが、まあ、
to see
1.6
the strength and weakness of the signals. So when we were aiming at 1.6 gig,
光出力がそもそも
I saw a lot of limitations of the output of optical
熱雑
and also to receive optical signals. Well, the heat and sound and noises were the obstacles, and relay equipment became very complex as well, and the power consumption was larger and the prices were higher. So there were a lot of challenges. And when it comes to laser, light beam application by estimated radiation, well, laser might give you an image of emitting something, but well, this is actually for optical amplification, and we are using laser to amplify the light, and the repeaters or relay equipment. We wanted to use this optical amplification, but semiconductor lasers, well, in terms of the structure, the loss of light sources are different depending on the origination of the light. However, well, Dr. Nakazawa made EDFA very small, so we can have amplification that is very stable, and this is very valuable as a relay equipment. An amplifier for audio equipment, for example, we have pre-main amplifier, we have preamp and main amp in terms of a light output and a noise function. So high output and how high sensitivity amplifiers can be developed that are very useful as relay equipment or repeaters. So we used to have a lot of challenges, but now we have this optical amplifier that addresses all the challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Professor Misenbeck and also Professor Daiselov. Here is a question. In Japan, there are many junior researchers who would like to come up with a certain outcome from the scientific research. Now you came to this achievement, so would you please tell them that what's the beauty or interest of the science? What kind of attitude for the research is expected to be a scientist? Or other, if you have any good message to the junior or younger people, would you please give us such? First, Dr. Misenbeck, please.
Thank you. I think I had one great advantage coming to all of this, and that is that I came from outside the field. When I began my own independent laboratory, I realized that neuroscience was probably the most interesting part of biology with the most mesmerizing problems. But culturally, it felt a little alien to me because I had come from biochemistry and molecular cell biology, where the standard of proof was quite different, where one needed to be able to take the system apart and put it back together to really understand how it works. So if I have one piece of advice to offer, it is to try and populate the interfaces between different disciplines, these relatively unexplored areas where some of the most exciting discoveries lurk.
Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Daiselov, please, same question.
Well, I've always been somebody who just wants to try things just to see if they work. And this is one of the greatest joys of being a scientist, that we can come in and just try something. And for me, I was somebody who was an experienced single cell resolution scientist. I was a patch clamper. I also, like Gero, biochemistry and chemistry background. But at the same time, I was also in psychiatry, and I wanted to bridge from the very small to the very large. And the best way I saw of doing it was with these microbial proteins. And that was very unlikely to work. These are proteins from so far away evolutionarily. And the idea that one would be able to get these foreign proteins to be safely and robustly expressed in neurons and give us the leverage we needed was very unlikely. But I just tried it, and this is the best advice, I think, is don't listen to people who say it's unlikely to work or it won't work. I mean, you can listen a little bit, but not too much, and just try things. If I hadn't tried it, I can still remember the thrill of that first experiment where I delivered light to neurons just in a dish, and we could see these microbial proteins actually worked and were safe and robust. It was unbelievable. It was so thrilling, and that joy only comes from just trying things. So that would be my advice. Let your natural curiosity guide you in this wonderful profession.
Thank you so much. Now the last question.
So question to Dr. Nakazawa and Mr. Hagimoto. At which point did you think that this amplifier would have a major impact? Starting with Dr. Nakazawa, please. Well, in our lab, indium gallium arsenic phosphorus semiconductor laser was used, and for the first time, the doping of the erbium was done. And at about 10 decibel, or probably a little bit more, from the first experiment, 10 times bigger. So at that time, one of our young colleague and researcher told me, I still remember the words, Dr. Nakazawa, this person said that with this optical telecommunication is going to change with this. And when I heard that, is that so? That's what I said. But now looking back, that moment was, how can I say this, was the inflection point of the optical telecommunication. The major change happened then. Because before that, in fact, EDFA, well, this is the topic, but without EDFA, the optical amplification can be done, as Mr. Hagimoto said, with other methods. There are several other methods. So before EDFA, the Raman scattering, induced Raman scattering, this is the silica itself can be excited. So even without the erbium, fiber itself can become an amplifier. So that kind of induced Raman, stimulated Raman scattering is a phenomena. So that was the area of research that I was involved in. But the power of the semiconductor laser is a little less than 100 milliwatt. So the fiber, well, making the fiber itself as an amplifier was difficult to do. So the gain was 2 or 3 decibels, so doubling it. So it was a very small gain at that time. So we were wondering what we should do, and the Raman amplification 1.45 micron and erbium, the wavelength is 1.85 micron. So what we did was that 1.85 micron Raman semiconductor laser, and using, we were also doing the erbium research. So we used that for the erbium research. And when we did so, as I said at the beginning, the 10 decibel gain was easily gained. So rather than Raman, EDFA, and creating the optical amplifier with EDFA is better. And that was the major step for the development. Thank you. That's all. Thank you. Mr. Hagimoto, would you like to say something as well? Well, the EDFA or optical amplifier, one of the major characteristics as we did our experiments is that the gain can be larger, and as a result of that, the optical output also is bigger. So linearity, compared to the incoming signal, the output, for example, at 20 decibel, will continue to generate the gain of 20, but output has a limitation, so it goes down. So there is a saturation. And when there is a saturation, the electrical circuit and most of it, the signals get distorted. But with the EDFA, the homogeneous or inhomogeneous, as an amplifier, it has a characteristic that under the saturation, the optical signal, it does not have to be distorted. It's not distorted. I'm not going into the details, but there's no distortion there. And AM TV, for example, can be amplified, and there's no distortion there either. And of course, strictly speaking, the gain goes down, but for all the most of the bands, the gain is saturated, but the signal does not distort. So if that is the case, the transmission, for the transmission, this is really the best amplifier. And with the microwave, the output characteristic is much higher. So a 200 kilometer experiment was done, and a high power operation was conducted. And under the saturation, there was no distortion at 200. So of course, that optical characteristic of the distance is double. In terms of the dynamic range, about the 20 decibel improvement was done. So as a result, the limit at that time was 100 kilometers, but now it is extended to 200. So signals do not distorting. That gave me a lot of future prospect and value.
ありがとうございました。時間が参りましたので、これにて質疑応答を終了させ
Thank you very much. Now the time has come. We would like to conclude the Q&A session. I apologize for not being able to take all the questions. We will try our best to answer later any questions that were not covered. To the laureates, thank you very much. Please stay on the line. And media participants, thank you very much for joining us today. The award ceremony will be held on April 13. We will inform you of the details of the events as soon as they are finalized. Please refer to the video and other materials of this press conference, which is available on our website. A group interview will immediately follow. If you'd like to interview Dr. Gelo Misenbeck and Dr. Carl Dyself in the field of life sciences, please stay on this line. This concludes the press conference to announce the winners of the 2023 Japan Prize. Thank you very much.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you.
Thank you.